Hello everyone, my name is Ira. I'm a third year maths student at Lancaster University. I'm going to give you a talk about student life at Lancaster Uni. So first of all, I'm going to talk about living at uni, what that's like. There's a lot of things that you might not expect and things to get used to. So first of all, I'm going to talk about living at home or away. Most of you will be living away, so I'll focus mainly on that. I'm going to talk about the campus. Lancaster Uni is a campus university, which means everything's in one place. And also I'll talk about the city, which is only a 10-minute bus ride away. I'll then talk about Welcome Week. This is your first week at university, helping you get accustomed to university. And I'll talk about the accommodation options available, what sort of things are available for you, and how much these cost. I'll then talk more about the collegiate system, as Lancaster is one of very few collegiate universities in the UK. So living at home has some benefits for those who live close enough. It's very comforting for some people. You're in a familiar place, living at home, you have your own stuff, your own room. You can also have support from your family. They can do things like cooking and cleaning. If they're nice enough, you might get away with doing less of that and save some money there. You also have them nearby for support. If you have any problems, you can talk to them. Most people will consider living at home cheaper. You're not having to pay accommodation fees unless your parents want you to pay some rent or something, and you can probably save money on food if they're cooking and things like that, and you're buying as a household. However, you will have to consider that you're probably going to get a lesser student loan, and commuting can be expensive, particularly if you're getting the train or having to drive. So these are things to consider if you're choosing to live at home. So for most people, living away is what they do when they come to university. Living away gives you a really unique student experience. You're then given an opportunity to move into a new place with loads of other students from across the country and across the world who are all studying different things and all in the same position as you. So you get a really good experience in being able to meet all these people and live in it. You also have a lot of independence and freedom. For most people, this will be their first time moving away and living by themselves. So for the first time, you have a lot of independence to do what you want and go where you want and things like that, and set your own rules. There's also a new city that you can explore if you're new to the area, and lots of things that you have to consider, doing your own laundry, doing your own shopping, so you have to take all that into account. Typically, it's more expensive to live away. You have to think about accommodation fees, which is going to be probably your main expense, also your own food shopping and things like that. There's also a lot of other living costs, such as doing your laundry and travel and things. However, if you are living on campus at Lancaster, you won't really have to pay any travel because you can walk everywhere, which is a big benefit of being at campus university. However, you will also get more maintenance loan to help you with these costs. So I said that Lancaster is a campus university, and this means that everything is self-contained, all in one location outside the city centre. However, it's not too far, only being about 10 minutes away by bus, with lots of frequent service, you're not too far away. This creates a really student-orientated and safe environment. Having staff and security around all the time means that everyone there is for the same reason and everyone feels safe. So this has a really nice community feel because everyone's there, all for the university. There's lots of close facilities. The campus itself has things like shops, restaurants, pubs, everything like that, library, bookshop, whatever you really need to get by day to day. And there's also banks, and the town is nearby, as I said, 10 minutes away. And food delivery, shopping and everything makes it really convenient to be on campus. There's also opportunity to get part-time work on campus, as there's lots of different businesses. These hire part-time work from students, and the university itself hires as well. For example, me being a student ambassador, I'm employed by the university. So the city of Lancaster is really easy to get to. Public transport is really frequent with the bus service. The train station is located right near the city centre, and this can take you basically anywhere in the country. If you're having to fly in from somewhere, Manchester Airport is only about an hour away by train. So it's a really convenient location in terms of getting around wherever you need to go. It has everything you'd expect from a city, with lots of main high street shops and big chains. If you want to go clothes shopping, things like Primark, Next, there's McDonald's, KFC, food places like that. And for student supplies and stuff, having Wilco and Argos is really useful. You'll have the independence and freedom to explore the city by yourself at your own pace and do what you want there. And also, because there's lots of businesses and there's a lot of student population in Lancaster, they employ a lot of students. So this is a really good opportunity to get some part-time work if that's what you want. So Welcome Week is your first week at university. If you're moving into campus, you'll move in the weekend before Welcome Week, and you'll have a full week where you really get to just get accustomed and ease into university life. So during this time, you'll get introduced to your studies with some taster lectures. If you have to do a minor, which is anyone doing the maths or maths and statistics degree, then you get to look at taster sessions to see which minor you might want to do and get a feel for them and sign up for them then. It also gives you the opportunity to meet lots of people, meet your flatmates, meet people in your course and everything like that, and make friends, and look at different clubs and societies and sign up for them, and really just enjoy yourself before all of your studies start. So I said that Lancaster is a collegiate university. Very few universities in the UK follow this system, but what it essentially means is that the university is then divided further into colleges, and that every student and staff member is allocated a college. So each college makes its own small community, which puts its own events on, has its own location on campus, and has its own bar and things like that. Staff are allocated college as well, and there's support staff dedicated per college. So for each college, you have someone you can go to if you need welfare support and things like that. Each college also has their own sports teams for lots of major sports, such as football and bar sports have them. And this gives you an opportunity to compete with other colleges on a regular basis and represent your college. And the accommodation is also categorized by college. So different accommodation is available to different colleges, and you will choose this based on, when you choose your accommodation, you'll also be choosing your college. So these are the 8 colleges for undergraduates at university. There's also another one, which is for postgraduate students. As you can see, they're all established in different years, with Bowland and Lonsdale being the founding colleges as the university expanded. They all have slightly different things that they stand for, and these can all be found out in more detail on the university. And you will, yeah, as I said, you'll choose these when you apply for accommodation. So I'll now talk about budgeting. This is a big deal at university for lots of people. It's the first time you're getting a lot of money into your account directly, and it's your responsibility to then put that where you need to put it. So I'll first talk about accommodation and other living costs, things that are going to take up the majority of your funds, and the importance of those things. I'll then talk about the difference between catered and self-catered accommodation. Lancaster offers both. I'll give some top tips from students and some other things with ways you can help to budget yourself and manage your money effectively. I'll then also talk about part-time work and the benefits that gives. So these are the accommodation costs from the university on campus from 2019 to 2020, and this includes all of the bills, so this is the only amount you're having to pay. As you can see, there's a wide range of costs for self-catered and catered, and the catered is slightly more, as you would expect. The difference in price comes from the type of accommodation. Lancaster offers standard rooms, which means you're sharing a bathroom or sharing multiple bathrooms and sharing a kitchen. You have ensuite, where you'll have your own bathroom each, which costs slightly more, and you share a kitchen. And then there's also studios, which you have all of your own facilities, and as you'd expect, they're the most expensive. So what is the difference between catered and self-catered? If you're catered, this means that you're given breakfast and evening meals in term time every day, and this equates to about an additional £40 a week in cost, which was included in the previous slide. So you'll get 2 meals a day, and this means that you're guaranteed to be able to have 2 good, healthy meals, and can save you on cooking if you don't want to do that. So for some people, it's a really good option. If you don't want to do catered, there are ways of still saving money, and making sure you get good meals. Things like cooking with friends can be really beneficial. If you want to cook on a Monday and then you won't have to cook a few more days because your friends in your flat, for example, are cooking different meals. Or you can cook individually and do large bulks of food and portion them out. And then this can help save you time as you're only having to cook 2 to 3 times a week rather than every single night. And then when you are late from a lecture or have clubs and things like that, you can heat them up and it's a lot easier and saves your time compared to cooking every night. It can also be a lot cheaper as you can buy food in larger bulk. Trying to buy individual portions of fresh things can be expensive and inconvenient. So it's a really good way to save both time and money. So these are some top tips for budgeting. Number one is to get discount cards. There are 2 main ones that are offered here. The NUS Extra card is sort of a national card which works at a lot of chain shops, both online and in high streets across the country. And this costs sort of £10 to £15 a year. Purple card is similar. However, this only applies in Lancaster. So lots of local businesses and the university supported things will offer discounts on the purple card. So these are good things, and you can find all of the information about what they apply to online to decide whether they're for you. If you have to get a book out, looking at renting or borrowing or looking at the library is highly recommended. Personally, for maths, I haven't had to get any books out because all the lecturers provide everything they need. But if, for example, your minor subject, or if you want to get something out of personal interest, look into the library, they have a great selection. The 1625 rail card is really beneficial if you're using the trains at all. You save a third on travel and it only costs £30 a year. So for me, living quite far away, I save more than £30 just in one trip home. So it's a no-brainer to get it. Cash machines are available that are free of charge on campus and in town, to make sure you use those. And lots of banks offer student bank accounts with lots of different benefits. Some of these include things like a rail card or give you overdraft and things like that. So make sure to look into those and what one's best for you. And also look for free events around and things that you can do to save money and still enjoy yourself on a day out. So these are some tips from students on how to save money. The first one being setting a hard limit on how much you spend each week. This is a really good thing to do if you know you definitely have to make £500, for example, last you the next 10 weeks, that you can budget that out. And if you only spend 50 quid or less a week, that you're going to be fine. Keeping your cupboards stocked with things like dry pasta, tinned goods, frozen food is really useful. If you come back late or and you're hungry and you need to eat, but if you don't have food in your cupboards, then you're going to be tempted to go get a takeaway rather than actually go food shopping. So having food there that you can easily prepare is going to stop you from doing that, because takeaway is not only bad for you, but it's also very expensive if you do it regularly. As I said earlier about cooking in bulk, you can freeze lots of these leftovers to save time and money and make sure that you're getting good, easy meal every day. So part-time work is something a lot of people might consider. It's a good way to supplement your income if you have less student loan, or if you just want more money to enjoy yourself with and things like that. In addition to helping with income, it's a really good way to build your CV. Employers really like the look of part-time work. It shows that you've developed employable skills, and if you've done it alongside your degree, that you can sort of put your focus to multiple things at once. It gives you an opportunity to learn lots of employable skills, such as talking to people and dealing with money. And the Lancaster University has an employment recruitment service which ensures that and advertises job vacancies with a maximum of 15 hours a week, so that you can do your part-time work, but it doesn't detract from your studies, which is the reason you're at university in the first place. So now I'll talk about how you can get involved with the university. So the Lancaster Uni has a students' union, and this is run by individuals which are elected by the students and represent all of the other students. And they offer lots of different support and opportunities, such as welfare support, offer voluntary opportunities to help people boost their CVs. They also organise a lot of the sports clubs and societies and help with their funding and things like that, and also put on lots of really good events in Welcome Weeks to help get you introduced to the uni. So Lancaster has over 200 different sports clubs and societies in a vast range of things. It's a really good way to meet new people in maybe a new sport or in things that you already do, and have fun. And they do a lot more than just do the sport. They have socials and things like that. So there's a society for pretty much anything, from sports clubs, hobbies and skills and music, things like that, to academic societies. And there's 3 different levels of sport. So if you're new to something but you want to give it a try, it's only £2 to try it out, and you can compete at a novice level with other people in a similar position. If you're quite good, you can compete in an inter-college level, as I said, with the college sports teams, so you can compete with other colleges. And then if you're very good, then you can compete elite level against other universities and in Roses, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the sports centre is a big part of the university. It's an incredibly well-equipped facility and it's constantly getting expansions. And this has everything you need to train for all of these sports and for your own personal leisure. It's got swimming pool, gym, climbing and bouldering cave, a brand new strength and conditioning facility, and then loads of courts for all different sports. So Roses is our annual competition versus York University, and it's been going on for a long time. It's described as the biggest inter-university sporting event in Europe, and this is a really fun event where all of our sports compete against each other, going from York University some years and then alternating to Lancaster University. So this year it'll be at Lancaster University, and this is where everyone can get together and support each other. Even if they're not really interested in sports, it's still a really good environment and everyone gets involved. So these are some societies which may or may not exist. So Robot Football Society, we don't have a Lancaster. However, at Plymouth University, they do. Extreme Ironing Society doesn't seem like something that would really exist, but at University of Nottingham, some students got together and decided that they wanted to do that. So there it is. And Tea Appreciation Society, we do actually have at Lancaster. So if you're interested in tea and want to meet other people who are as well, then that's somewhere you can go. So I mentioned hobbies and skills societies. These are societies where you can either try out a new hobby or interest, or if you're like an avid musician, you can continue to develop your hobby and with other people who are like-minded and interested in that thing. So these include things like music, dance, film, hiking, everything like that. Trips are organised by these societies. They have rehearsals, classes and everything like that, with socials being frequent. So it's an all-encompassing social experience which doesn't only focus on the reason that everyone's there. There's also academic societies. For example, there's the Maths and Statistics Society, which is run by maths students and organises events for students and socials, as well as help sessions for first years run by other students. But every subject has a society, and you don't have to be in that subject to join it. So lots of maths students might join the Accounting and Finance Society to get insight into extra guest lectures and things like that to learn a bit more about finance. And these are many other societies. They're not all limited to these categories, and all of them can be found on the Student Union website. If you're interested, just scroll through and see if any of them take your fancy. But if there's one that you think should be there and it's not, if you can find some other people who also want that, you can set up your own. So Lancaster offers a lot of global experiences and opportunities. There are options for off of term, so during the summer and things like that, you can go on overseas trips to places like Malaysia, India, China, Ghana and Berlin. So these are a way that you can meet new people and other students who have the same interests, and also people in the new country, and get a new interesting experience. There's also cultural exchange, which offers opportunities to visit other different campuses across the world and see what it's like there. The study abroad scheme exists with maths, where you'll do a year in a different university and get to see what the different learning experience is like in that other country, and also experience a whole different culture. You will still be studying, so it's not a holiday, but you get to have a lot of new experiences while also pursuing your degree. This also looks really good for your CV. Employers like the look of students who have travelled and show that they're willing to go to different places. The cultural exchange helps you improve your language and communication, and you can really experience things around the world and develop your broaden your horizons. So now talk about some of the support systems available. So support and wellbeing is a really important thing, and Lancaster offers this in a lot of different ways. For people of religion, there's a chaplaincy centre where there's rooms which you can pray in and things like that for various faiths. There's counselling available for minor things all the way up to serious issues, and the university support system helps everyone with any needs they have and passes them on to the right people. If you're having academics difficulties, the academic department has support available, and you also have an academic advisor which is with you for your entire degree, who you can meet with once a term or email and meet up with them more frequently if you need any help. So there's lots of different ways you can get support, and you can all easily seek this online or through your tutor and things like that. So these are a lot of things that people say are their best parts of their first year. For me, it's a mixture of a lot of them. I think having the independence for the first time to be living by yourself and having a lot more control over how you learn and what you do is a really good. And having the opportunity to meet so many new people and trying new things, it's been a really great experience that I don't think you can get anywhere else other than university. So lastly, university is what you make of it, and make the most of your time. You're only going to be here for a few years, and these will be some really good years if you take advantage of it. So make sure to do that. Thank you all for listening. I'm now going to pass over to Paul, who will do a talk as well. And this is where you can contact the university.
Thank you, Ira. So stand down here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ira. So I'm just going to give you an introduction to the Maths and Stats department. So this is from the point of view of the academics, so the organisation of the course and so on. So my name is Paul Levy. I'm the head of undergraduate admissions within the department. So what's the content of this talk? I'm going to talk a little bit about research, because everywhere you look, you find there are references to the research quality of universities. And I imagine that if you're a prospective student, you might sort of ask yourself the question of why the research going on at university is really relevant to my possible experience as a student. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, first of all. Then we'll go through what the curriculum looks like in the department, a taste of the first year, and then look at the content of the mathematics degree in the subsequent years, and say a little bit about joint honours degrees. I'll also talk subsequently about the kind of support that's provided, the range of different academic and more pastoral support mechanisms that there are in the department, and towards the end I'll talk about graduate outcomes, so that's jobs and careers and so on. Okay, right, so every time you see a presentation by an academic department in a university, at least in Britain, they will talk about the quality of their research. And so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going to break with tradition. So in Britain, there is an exercise which is sort of run by a government grouping, a government department, called the Research Excellence Framework. And that's run every 5 or 6 years. The last one was in 2014. And what that does is assesses the quality of the research happening in different subject areas, but in every subject area in every university up and down the country. So mathematics and statistics was one of the subject areas, and Lancaster in the Research Excellence Framework finished 5th in that last exercise in 2014, and there's one coming up in a couple of years' time, so we'll see what the results of that one are. But so this was a great result for us. We were really, really happy to be that high in the rankings. I think it's a recognition of the range of different research which has taken place in the department. We have particular strengths in pure mathematics and statistics. And I think the statistics is one of the things that marks us out as being not different to other departments, but that's our kind of one of our key strengths, which would you would look at the maths and stats department at Lancaster as being a kind of leader in that area. And statistics was a strong feature of our Research Excellence Framework submission. Now, what does that mean for students? Well, the research that takes place, so all academics are expected to do research. The research that takes place is something that you reflect on as an academic, and you think about the undergraduate curriculum should be influenced by the research that you're doing. And we've got a couple of examples here of how the research taking place in maths and stats at Lancaster has had a direct impact on the curriculum. There are 3 new modules that I mentioned. This is just a selection, modules which are directly informed by some of the research taking place in the department. So the first example mentioned there is medical statistics. And this was a module introduced, I think, about 7 or 8 years ago. And we've got a description of the module here to understand the basic elements of medical investigation, very much from the statistical point of view. What kind of statistical techniques, once you're setting up these studies, what kind of statistical techniques do you use to understand the effectiveness of medical treatments and so on? And that's been a very popular module. When you see this mnemonic at the beginning of the sentence, Math 335, the math tells you that that's a module that takes place in maths and stats. And the 3 tells you that that's a 3rd year module. So that's available for students in the final year of a bachelor's degree, or in the 3rd year, the penultimate year of a master's, an MSci degree, right? Okay, so that's one area that's been very popular. And I know, I know we have students who sort of say once they've taken this module, it's given them an idea for something that they want to study in their career. So that's certainly a sign of a good a kind of effective module, which is giving people an introduction to an area. The second sentence there, bullet point, we've got combinatorics and graph theory. So these are in the area of discrete mathematics, and we have a research grouping at Lancaster in something called geometric rigidity, which is kind of connected to discrete mathematics. And we have a few members of staff working in that, and over the last 5 or 6 years, they've introduced a little bit more of discrete mathematics into the curriculum. And these are 2 also quite popular 3rd year modules in combinatorics and graph theory that have been introduced that kind of address this. So these are kind of, you wouldn't quite describe them as being at the cutting edge, but they're reasonably close to the cutting edge of the kind of modern research in these areas. And they're definitely informed by the kind of research that people are doing. Okay? Right, so I said I would talk about the 1st year. So the system at Lancaster is that students in their 1st year effectively take 3 subjects. Those subjects may be sort of divided into smaller modules, but it's easy to identify them as taking 3 subjects. And if you're studying a science subject as a single major student, say you're studying mathematics, 2 of your 3 subjects would be in maths, and the 3rd one would be in what we call your minor subject. So this would be something else which would not be in mathematics. So that's the system in the 1st year. So the division of mathematics modules in the 1st year is in 2 streams of Math 100 and Math 110. And as you can see here, Math 100 has the general title Mathematical Methods, and Math 110 has the general title Mathematical Concepts. Now, the audience will be taking mathematics perhaps in different educational environments, but I think it's probably true that the mathematical methods bit, the Math 100, will be somewhat familiar in the subject matter that you're studying. So it will be things like linear algebra, probability, some sort of calculus, integration, and so on, right? So that will be somewhat familiar. What we're trying to do is to make sure that everybody is at the same level. So we take people from different environments that we've got them, we bring them up to speed pretty quickly, we bring them up to the same level, and then we surpass the mathematics that you've seen at school level, and you're going into more advanced topics of calculus and more advanced approach to statistics and so on. The Math 110, mathematical concepts, is likely to be less familiar to you. You won't have done as much of this. It's about properties of real numbers, proofs, how do we know that things are true, prime factorization, sets, And it's a much more sort of university-style mathematics stream. And this is the bit where we're sort of flagging to you that the future is more on the Math 110 side, right? This is the way that the degree will pan out. You'll have both the methods and the concepts, but the concept is the newer thing, right? Now, both of these streams are taught mostly by lectures, and you will have 4 lectures a week in each of those streams, and then 1 hour of workshops. And so the lectures will be taken in large lecture theatres with a lecturer such as me or one of the other academic staff explaining with copies of the notes available, explaining some of the basic material. But in the workshops, that's where you're going to actually put this into practice. You're going to do exercises. They'll be in smaller groups. Typically, you would have about 30 students in a workshop with 2 tutors teaching that, and it's much more hands-on. It's much more doing exercises, asking somebody, is there a mistake in what I've done, saying I don't understand how to do this question, etc. The other thing that the workshops are for is there is a small amount of written homework each week. In the first year, in each of these streams, Math 100 and Math 110, you have to submit written homework once a week, and the tutor that's assigned to you marks the homework, gives it back to you, and that written homework contributes a small amount to your final mark for the module, but the main purpose of it is to give you that feedback. So you're getting regular feedback on your work, and that continues throughout the degree. So you can see if you're going wrong, and there's a small incentive to do that, but it's not like it's critical, like you're going to, sort of ruin your chances at this stage. So the lectures and workshops are where the core of a lot of the material from the course is developed. Now, in addition, for Math 100 and Math 110, there are some extra sessions where you have to learn some extra material. In the case of Math 100, it's through these computer labs, so you have to do a certain amount of computation, especially involving a computational package called R, which is used, it's the standard program that is used for statistical programming in the mathematics department at Lancaster. And so the computer labs start in the first year and then continue also into the second year. So you're developing computational techniques throughout your degree, because this is essential really to get to grips, especially with the statistical material in the degree. For the Math 110 stream of modules, there is the extra classes take the form of this problem solving, and I'll say a little bit more about problem solving later on. Now, the minor subject, as I said, could be taken in other subjects. If you're a joint major student, so for example, if you are studying something like computer science and mathematics, then that minor would have to be in computer science. So it'd have to be in the joint major subject. But if you're just studying mathematics, then you would have some choice as to what that minor subject might be. Okay. Okay. Now, here is the range of minor subject choices for maths and stats majors. So because of timetabling issues, we can't offer a completely free choice to the minor that you can choose. We have the sort of standard pathways of minors, and here is the list of them. So you can see that we've broken them down according to the faculty within the university where these minors take place, right? And in the management school, which is very popular for a lot of our joint honours students, in the management school you can take minors in accounting and finance, economics, or management science, and all of those you can see have a sort of mathematical element to them. In the Faculty of Science and Technology, which is also our faculty, you can take minors in chemistry, physics, or computing. And then if you want to sort of go with quite an alternative option, the Arts and Social Sciences faculty offer studies in languages, and you can see the list of languages from French, and then a new option, which is Chinese studies. Or we also have a joint honours degree in mathematics and philosophy. So that's a very traditional, extremely traditional combination of philosophy and mathematics. If you go back 2,500 years, it's that kind of traditional option. So these are the sort of accepted pathways. Now, it's perhaps possible that there might be some of the subjects you should take, but this covers most of the minors that we find our students want to do. And these ones are sort of guaranteed in the sense that they are options available to our students. Okay, now I said a little bit about how you learn for the Math 100 and Math 110. It involves lectures and workshops. That's true throughout the degree. It's also true for second year, third year, and potentially fourth year modules, that the core learning is taking place by this combination of lectures and workshops. In the first year in particular, there are computer labs and problem solving. And the problem solving I'll speak about a little bit in a moment. The computer labs also continue into the second year. Now, there are some modules subsequently which are run slightly differently, and I'll talk a little bit about those later, but I do want to emphasise the marked work and the continuous assessment, which I'm sure Ira could confirm is a strong feature of the degree at Lancaster, and our students really do appreciate this. Year after year we get sort of very good kind of feedback on the effectiveness of this system and how useful it is to have somebody looking at your work and giving you feedback on whether you're doing anything wrong. Okay, so that's how you learn. Right. So hopefully you can sort of see this typical first year timetable. This is not a guaranteed timetable. It's just to give you an impression of the kind of first year timetable that you might have if you came here to study mathematics. So you can see that in the blue boxes, from Monday to Friday, we have lectures. There are 8 of those blue boxes. And so they are the lectures in Math 100 and Math 110. The 4 lectures for each of those streams of subjects. And they're scattered throughout the week. In green, you also find that there's 1 problem-solving class, 1 computer lab, and then 2 workshops. Again, you have 1 workshop for each of Math 100 and Math 110. And then you have 1 problem-solving class in some weeks for Math 110, and then 1 computer lab session for Math 100. Right? There are also a few red boxes, which is for the minor subject, and that will vary depending on which subject you choose as a minor subject. Wednesday afternoon is, as a point of principle, generally kept free at Lancaster University for sports activities, societies, as it says here, for doing your laundry. And there is also a sort of a slot on a Friday afternoon for societies there. Now, you may have noticed that there are a number of empty boxes in here. You don't attend timetable classes for the entirety of the week while you're studying here. As a university student, anywhere you go in Britain, you're expected to do some independent study, and Lancaster is no exception. And so in addition to the timetable classes, you will have some work to do outside of those timetable classes, whether it's reading around the notes, doing the exercises that you have to submit as homework, revising for sort of interim tests and so on. And so the white boxes are not sort of, well, some of them may be used as free time, but some of them should be used as self-study time. And there are very many different places in university, such as the library and so on, where you can go and take advantage of these spaces to study. Okay, thank you. Okay, I said I would say a little bit about problem solving. So what is problem solving? Problem solving is sort of a little bit like the workshops in that it takes place in small groups, but it's different from the workshops in one key respect. So in the workshops, you're generally putting into practice the material which has been discussed in the lecture notes. And so that material may be, for example, a specific method for solving a certain differential equation, or a specific method for solving certain integrals, and you're expected to sort of refer to the lecture notes and try and work out how you're guided to answer some of these problems. And different levels of difficulty for those problems will see you maybe have to take some independent kind of steps in that solution, or maybe just to sort of follow the solution somewhat more closely to how it's outlined in the notes. Problem solving is a different approach, where we're giving you problems that you have not seen before, and nobody has given you any indication of how to solve them. And that's intellectually quite a challenging exercise, but it's also a very, very important exercise, because it's giving you experience of what to do if something doesn't come with a set method. If you're given a problem where you have to work out a new method for solving it, work out a new approach, use the knowledge that you have, try and analyze and understand the problem, and break down its component parts and try and see whether your existing knowledge can be brought to bear in a way which perhaps you haven't done before. So that's the general description of this unseen problems at the top. There should be problems you haven't seen before. Otherwise, this is not problem solving, that's just a normal workshop. There are no set methods, and the lecturer will go around and be a bit annoying and not really give you any hints. The lecturer who's taken this class will go around and say, well, how do you think what you're doing is going to help? And what have you tried so far? And kind of all kinds of questions which you might think don't help you, but they are designed to get you thinking about the problem-solving process, and therefore it's a sort of it's reasoning about reasoning, trying to understand what kind of approaches you use are successful in a general sense, not specific to the problems, but generally what can you do that helps to solve difficult problems. And that will make you a better mathematician. Now, we have a quote here from a student, I think from 2 years ago, who studied the Math 110 stream and had this to say about the problem-solving sessions in their feedback that the students are asked to complete. The problem-solving sessions were very useful and made me think about new ways of approaching challenges and how a solution for one problem can be used in a similar way to solve another one. And this knowledge was transferable to the rest of the course and mathematics as a whole. And this is great. At least one student has taken on board the problem solving in the way that we intended it. It's meant to be helping you as a general sort of toolbox for how to solve mathematical problems. That's what it's designed for. And hopefully it's fun. There isn't really coursework. It's mostly just about your attendance and sort of participation in this. And it's designed to be something which is a very distinct experience to the workshops, and that you could sit there for half an hour and find the problem difficult and not really know where to go with it. And then suddenly after half an hour, you might find, oh, now I've got a way of thinking about this, which is successful. And that's very different to a workshop where you would expect to know how to tackle a problem within 5 minutes. Okay? Okay, now I've talked about the first year. So the second year, for the single major students, the second year consists of the sort of streams of 2 modules each that you can see on this page here. And so in Lancaster, the first year is called Part 1. And the Part 1 does not contribute to the final mark for your degree. It's a progression only. So you have to do well enough in the first year to pass through to the second year. And the second year and third year are called Part 2. And if you're doing an integrated master's degree, it would be the second year, third year, and fourth year. They would all be Part 2. So the second year is the beginning of Part 2 of your degree. And this is where the marks that you pick up in these modules are really going to actually contribute to the final classification of your degree. And because this is the beginning of the degree result proper, the way that we approach the second year at Lancaster is to say that the core of the degree is established in the second year. So all of the modules that you take in the second year are mandatory, and then you get options in the third year, and you're completely free to choose the options. And we'll talk a little bit about the third year a bit later on. So this is the core of the second year. If you're doing a joint honours degree, you would do half of these modules in combination. So I don't want to go into details, but you would do half of these. If you're doing a mathematics or a mathematics with statistics degree, you would do all 8 of the modules, which are kind of explained on this page. So what are the 4 key areas that we have? These are 4 key areas of modern mathematics. So the first one is analysis. So this is about properties of real numbers and complex numbers. And in fact, I'm teaching a module at this very moment called complex analysis. And complex analysis is a name that sort of frightens people, but actually the complex bit there is not complex as in difficult, it's analysis of complex numbers. And if you've encountered complex numbers where you have, for example, a square root of -1, then you may know that have some sort of idea of what that is. And so the other module in that stream is called real analysis, which is analysis of real modules. The second stream is in algebra and geometry, so that includes a module on linear algebra and one on abstract algebra. And the module on abstract algebra is about symmetries of systems. It's about operations of addition and multiplication and so on. And it's formalizing that, and it's giving you a framework to understand those kind of mathematical kind of structures. The third stream is more on the statistics probability side. And the titles of the modules there are Probability 2 and Statistics 2. And you can see that this, well, I'll talk a little bit about the third year options a little bit later on. And the final stream is not, well, it's partly academic, but it's also partly practical. This is in Math Skills Tools. There's a module in Project Skills. which includes, for example, typesetting in mathematics. It includes doing presentations, writing projects, and a range of different sort of projects that you're expected to do, both individually and in groups. And so these are transferable skills, they're employability skills, and these are a kind of a range of skills that we really think are important, not just for mathematics, but also in the rest of your life and potential careers and so on. The second module here is computational mathematics, and as you can tell, that's based around computational techniques and applying techniques which combine both mathematics and computational skills. Now, underneath, you can see that we've got arrows pointing towards an indication of what kind of options or what kind of quantity of options can be taken based on these second year modules. So you can see that in analysis, there are 7 optional third and fourth year modules, and that goes up to 10 in algebra and geometry, and then 17 for probability and statistics, which comes from a wide range of options in the fourth year. The options that come from the math skills tools are, well, we have 2 modules which are in mathematics education for people who are considering teaching, but also any student that stays on for the fourth year of the MSci should do the dissertation. So in order to do the MSci, the master's, the integrated master's degree, you have to do a dissertation in your fourth year, and then you need the skills that you've developed here in word processing, mathematics, and so on. So that's the second year. Okay, so here, just as a sort of a picture of the range of options that exist in year 3, we've got lists of modules in each of the 4 streams that we mentioned. So analysis, here are the 7 modules that can be taken in year 3, well, it's 6 in year 3, and then the range of modules that can be taken in algebra and geometry in year 3, and you can see the probability and statistics is in year 3 is about equal to algebra and geometry, but there are a great number of modules which can be taken in year 4 in statistics. And as I pointed out, we've got those 2 modules from math skills which are based around teaching, and if you might want to become a mathematics teacher, right? Okay, so that's the range of options, and you can see further details of that on the website. Okay, so we want to speak a little bit about the title of your degree, because we do occasionally get questions about what the difference between a mathematics degree and a mathematics with statistics degree is. The bachelor's degree versus the Master of Science degree, the difference there is that the bachelor's degree is a 3-year degree, and the Master of Science degree is a 4-year integrated master's degree, so it's a more advanced module. You come out with a postgraduate degree, even though you've done all 4 years in one go, right? So what is the difference between mathematics and mathematics with statistics? Well, there's really not much difference until you get to that 3rd year. And then the only difference is really on the mathematics with statistics side. The with statistics is our message that we've got these degrees accredited by the Royal Statistical Society, so they have to have a certain statistical content. And if you're doing a bachelor's degree, then that statistical content would be at least half of your 3rd year has to be in statistics modules, so in the 3rd column from the previous page. If you're doing an MSci degree, then there's a further specification that the dissertation would have to be in statistics. So those are the main differences, but in terms of what would happen to you when you arrive here, there's no difference. In the 1st year and in the 2nd year, there's no difference, in fact, between any of these 4 degrees. So the only difference that might start to appear is in the 3rd year for the difference between mathematics and mathematics with statistics. And of course, for the MSci degree, you would study for an extra year. And it's very, very easy to switch between these options once you get here. So there's a great deal of flexibility worked into the system in terms of whether you want statistics on your degree title or not, whether you want to do an MSci or not. So that's the difference between the single major degrees, and really, I guess the main message is it's not really something to worry too much about. You can easily change once you get here if you decide that you want to move to one of these different options. Okay, now for combined degrees, there is of course a difference. Roughly speaking, for the combined degrees, well, we've got a list of the combined degrees here, which are degrees that we in mathematics administer. So there are some other combined degrees which are not listed here, But if you're an applicant to, and we're speaking to you as an applicant at Lancaster University, and you've applied for a combined degree, it will be one of the degrees mentioned on this page here, right? And so for those degrees, so as I said earlier when I was talking about year one, you would have to do Math 100, Math 110, and then instead of the minor subject, you would do computer science. If you've applied for computer science and mathematics, you would do philosophy if you've done mathematics and philosophy, and you would do, I think, accounting if you're doing financial mathematics. And for part two, for the second year and third year, and the fourth year if you're doing the MSci, half of your modules, half of the credits, so these are counted according to credits, but half of your modules would have to be in mathematics, and the other half would have to be in computing or philosophy or in finance. And so the details there are a little bit, I'm not going to go through them now, but you can either look at the website or maybe send an email to us to inquire if you'd like to know more about what the details of those different options you could take as a Part 2 student in any of these combined degrees. But roughly speaking, it's half and half, mathematics and the joint major. Okay, I said I would talk about the supportive environment. Every student at Lancaster, undergraduate student, is appointed an academic tutor. And what is an academic tutor? So earlier on I talked about a workshop tutor. The academic tutor is not the same thing as a workshop tutor. So I'll say what a workshop tutor is. A workshop tutor is when you're at a workshop, you're doing your exercises, you have to submit some homework. The workshop tutor will mark that work and will give it back to you. And that could be different for different modules that you take. The academic tutor is a person in the department who is allocated to you, who will stay with you throughout your mathematics degree, who you meet to talk about practical matters. Not so much about the subject itself, but generally speaking about careers advice, about if you want to change your modules, whether the current course you're on is the right one for you. If you need some support for whatever reason, they can point you toward places in the university for that support. And generally speaking, this is a person that you get to know, that you can, it's a face in the department. It's a person that you can go and speak to, that you know that if there's something you want to find out, you can go and talk to them. And the academic tutor can, and often will, also write academic reference letters for you once your degree is finished. So if you apply for a master's degree somewhere, you can ask your academic tutor to write a reference letter for you. Okay, so that's the academic tutor, and you're meeting them once a term. Now, all teaching staff, in addition, if you're lecturing, so I'm lecturing a course on complex analysis, as I said at the moment, I have an office hour, an hour a week, where I tell my students, you can come and knock on my door. My door will be open. You can ask me about the lecture, about some of the material that we've covered in the course, maybe about some of the exercises. So that's an extra opportunity in addition to the workshops where you get to speak to the actual lecturer and ask them some of the details about the course. And there's probably a sort of a kind of quite a low take-up of that, but it's quite useful for those students who do come in and talk to the lecturers to ask about the lecture materials. Just moving across, moving across to the bottom left there, the undergraduate office is the administrative centre of the department, certainly as far as undergraduate students are concerned. This is a big office with about 6 or 7 members of staff in, and it's open from 9 till 5 throughout the week. And if as a student you want to change your module enrolment, or you need some help finding out what your timetable is, or any of these kind of practical matters, then you can go and knock on the door of the undergraduate office and somebody should be able to help you. So that's quite a kind of a key destination for our undergraduates to take advantage of. So moving along the bottom row, we've got the Director of Studies. So what is the Director of Studies? That's a person who's responsible for looking at the overall cohort, so the group of students studying a particular course, and they will look at, for example, if a student seems to be not attending very many classes, or if a student seems to be not submitting homework, and they'll try to get to the bottom of perhaps some difficulties that some students are having, And it's a sort of an intervention, just if somebody is perhaps disengaging a little bit, to try to get to the bottom of what might be that problem. And if there are any issues, if a student has health problems during the year, the Director of Studies will sit in a meeting at the end of year and try to take account of any difficulties that student has had. So we will, it's called mitigating circumstances. We will mitigate for any problems that a student might have had, perhaps give them a second chance if they had problems during the exam period, a second chance to take those exams and so on. And the Director of Studies is responsible for all of that. So they're kind of at the very top, and underneath them you have each of the individual academic tutors. Okay, and then in the rightmost column, we have the LUMAS Student Society. So Ira talked about student societies, and LUMAS is the Mathematics and Statistics Student Society. So that is a long-standing student society which is for enthusiasts of mathematics. One of the key events that they run is the Maths Cafe, and this is once a week, and it's where students can go and ask other students for advice about homework, about the course materials and so on. And it's a generally sort of fairly popular kind of option for people to go and discuss the homework, discuss the work that they have to do. So that's organised by LUMAS. Yep. Okay, so here we've got a little bit more about LUMAS. They have the weekly help sessions, that's the Maths Cafe. In addition, in fact, to the Maths Cafe, they also run lab sessions, helping students with the very specific sort of techniques needed for the computational side of things. They organise social events, talks and trips. They sometimes have talks from invited speakers. And it's generally speaking, it's a sort of fairly popular student society, which involves not all of the students in mathematics, but a good proportion of the students in maths and stats. Okay, I said I would talk about graduate outcomes. So generally speaking, the key areas that people with mathematics degrees will go into are the ones you might expect: insurance, financial services, accountancy, and essentially anything involving money, actuarial, and so on. It's areas where you're going to be applying your mathematical knowledge in a sort of professional setting. And you don't have to have studied accountancy as a degree to go and do accountancy in a profession. There are ways of converting from mathematics to accountancy or to actuarial science and so on, right? And Lancaster is no exception to this. So all of the graduate outcomes that we've got written here are real outcomes. Some of our graduates have gone on to study, to work in jobs that fit these labels, right? In addition to the sort of financial side of things, at Lancaster we have a particular strength, as I said, in statistics, and so we find quite a big group of our graduates go into jobs which use their statistical knowledge. And so you can see here we've got government statistical services, pharmaceutical statistics, and the civil service. The civil service in Britain and in many other countries requires people with advanced statistical knowledge in order to understand changes that are taking place in society and in government administration. So those are also key areas which Lancaster graduates, I think in particular, because of the statistics strength in our degree, are in a good position to move into. In addition, we have about 20%, 15 to 20% of our graduates go into teaching, because mathematics teaching is always, schools are always in need of good mathematics teachers. And we also have some strengths in things like data science, and in, at the bottom right, we've got a mention of GCHQ, which is sort of intelligence. But these are real kind of outcomes for our students, and I think that the degree Maths and Stats at Lancaster really does prepare you quite well to go into these kind of career options. So I think I'll finish there. And thank you very much.
Yeah. So now I'm going to go through some questions that people have had. First one being, why did you choose maths at Lancaster? For me, I chose maths as I enjoyed it at school. I was good at it, and I knew I wanted to go in some sort of numeric career that involved numbers and things like that. But I wasn't particularly sure, and maths is a very employable degree, and this gave me an opportunity to pursue studying a subject that I wanted to do, and also gave me good career opportunities. I chose Lancaster because I wanted to move away, and I looked at league tables and things like that, and it seemed like a pretty good institution. When I came on open day, I really liked the campus and the choice of accommodation, things like that. And the bursaries and scholarships that were available were better than any other ones that I'd offered. So for me, it seemed like a really easy choice. How many contact hours do you have in first year? How does it differ as you go more into second and third year? So as Paul said, in first year, I think I had about 16 hours a week in total, so including my minor subject. And in second year, this was about the same, a bit lower at times, with a slightly different layout. Obviously, there's no minor, but you're doing more maths to accommodate that. And in third year, mine has been drastically different depending on term. As Paul showed with the different options modules, they lie in different times of term, so there's no sort of limit on whether or not you take multiple in one term and less in the next. So for me personally, I had 3 modules in the first 5 weeks, then 2, and then at the moment I'm only doing 1. So at the busiest I was doing sort of 15 hours a week, and at the moment I'm only in 5. So it really depends on third year, depending on what modules you choose and things like that. What career possibilities are there? What have recent graduates from Maths and Stats department gave to you? So there's a lot of different career possibilities. Paul showed a lot of these. Pretty much anything to do with numbers or stats is a good transition into from maths degree. There's lots of support available. I've had a lot of help with finding an internship. I'm doing one this summer in actuarial services in London, and the career support here has really helped me do that with CV drop-ins and help with specific workshops that have been offered, such as how to write CVs for finance. This is quite different, and help with interviews and things like that. So I've had a really good time with support here.
Can I just say on that, in terms of what career options there are, so for the applicant visit days that we organise here, there is a separate talk which has some discussion around, in general, how you benefit from studying an undergraduate degree versus not studying one. Now that refers mostly to people who grow up and live in Britain throughout most of their lives. But as part of that talk, I did manage to get hold of some the most recent data that we have on what kind of graduate jobs people went into. This is a bit complicated because quite a big chunk of our students go into postgraduate study. So if you ask what career do people go into, we might sort of lose them from our data at the point when they go from doing a bachelor's degree here to doing a master's degree somewhere else. But generally speaking, it's considered to be a good thing if your graduates go on to postgraduate study. And I think that there are strong reasons for that in terms of if you've got more advanced knowledge of the subject, then you're more likely to be going into a better professional job. And I think that's backed up by the statistics. So we did have some information on the kind of jobs that people went into from the bachelor's degree or from the integrated master's degree. And they really do match, I mean, not the exact job titles, but they match the subject areas that were on the page on the previous frame. So quite a few people going into banking, finance, actuarial, a kind of strong component of the graduates are going into the kind of sort of pretty, generally speaking, high earning jobs where you're using your mathematical knowledge. We had a couple of teachers. We had some people going into procurement, some people going into things like marketing, but I think that they would be doing marketing where they're using their statistical knowledge and applying that to markets in order to understand markets rather than designing posters and so on. So I think that Lancaster is kind of it's sort of representative of maths graduates as a whole, but probably a bit better than the maths graduates as a whole. The statistics certainly back that up in terms of it's going into pretty good professional degrees with good prospects if you've got an undergraduate degree from Lancaster.
So another question is, what is your favourite thing about Lancaster? I think for me it's having the university be on a campus. I really enjoy that, having everything in one place, especially when I was living on campus. It made everything really convenient. And even now living in town, having it be easy to get to by bus, but once I'm at uni, I'm in the university mindset that I can focus on just doing my work. Having everything I need all in one place has been really nice. What college did you choose and why? For me, my main thing that I wanted from the accommodation was to have standard accommodation, as I wasn't really bothered about sharing bathrooms and living with a lot of different people. So for me, I put the emphasis in my application on wanting standard accommodation. So I essentially just applied for ones that were standard. I wasn't particularly fussy about the college, so I didn't really put too much thought into that. However, I know people who did particularly want certain colleges as sort of if they had parents who had gone to university here, or things like that. Or if there's certain sports teams and colleges have certain sort of histories that they're interested in, and they might choose them for that. Do any industries and companies in the department discuss career options, opportunities? Yes, there's lots of that I've already said, and Paul said a lot about that. There's a lot of opportunity to talk to industries and companies. There's the career workshops, which help you to understand more about particular industries. And like I said, I had a finance workshop, which helped me to understand how math students take roles in finance, how to change your CV and things to fit that market. And then also the careers fairs are really useful. There's general ones, which have employers from all over, but also a STEM careers fair, which is specifically targeted at science and technology students, so that includes maths. So this is a way you can talk to companies about sort of why they're taking math students, what they want from math students, and also you get an opportunity a lot of the time to talk to recent graduates who have recently got the jobs, so you can ask them about their whole experience with all of that process.
Okay. I think we're going to wrap up there, unless I don't think we've got any final questions. So I think the best thing for people to do, if they are watching this now or if they watch it later on and decide they've got further questions, is to contact mathematics@lancaster.ac.uk. Send in an email that will be forwarded to me, or you can also look on the website and use the Unibody system to find, ask questions about particular courses, about the experience of students and so on. So I think we're gonna finish there, and please do get in touch if you've got any more questions. Thanks a lot.